Borderlands 4 is about to get an insane new update. We'll look at all the details and info we know about that so far, including some additional previews there. That'll lead us onto some developer comments about the game and all that's coming to it. Last up, we'll go over some updates from the community. We got some collaborations and a few other things, as well as a whole bunch more. What's up, World Utopia here, back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Borderlands 4. Okay, so first up here, let's look at what's going to be upcoming in this new patch, as we do have some developer comments here from the creative director for Borderlands 4. Now, this first one is actually a bug that other players have been encountering. This is an approach reply to Graham Timmons. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but again, this is the creative director for Borderlands, and specifically Borderlands 4, where originally this post stemmed from him talking about a small update today with more in the pipeline. That was September 18th. However, there is some more details here about a future patch where someone in reply asked if they could look into a bug that's not properly showing items. In this tweet, this person mentions it happens on all platforms. They play on a PS5 and it happens every once in a while. I can actually vouch and verify this for myself. Yes, it does happen on PC. I have a decently fast system. I'm not on DDR5 just yet, but I am on DDR4, and a lot of my stuff is pretty fast. 64 gigabytes of RAM at 3600 megahertz, so perfect clock ratio there for AM4. And I use a Samsung 970 EVO, so decently fast there, as well as a 4070 Ti Super. So I really shouldn't have issues with this as well, but yes, it does happen even with this decent system, which I would say is fairly fast for hardware-wise. So the fact that it's happening on my hardware, it's for sure going to happen on other platforms like the PS5 and Xbox Series. But that does seem to be something with the coding in the game, not exactly due to your system issues, although I'm sure that doesn't help at all. Well, we actually did get a reply to this. So again, they mentioned that it happens in the bank as well as in the menu. Yeah, again, I can vouch for that as well. Where Graham Timmons actually does reply here saying the upcoming console patch should resolve this. Now, I hope this also does include PC as well. As I said, it does happen on PC. It's not an all-the-time issue, but I notice as my bank does get more and more closer to the 500 mark, this does seem to be happening with more and more items that you have. So yeah, hopefully they do narrow that one down. That's not it though. We actually got some more additional comments here, and this one actually is in a reply to this post as well. So someone asked, is the FOV in that patch too? Where Timmons does reply here saying yes. So yes, it looks like the next patch of Borderlands 4 is going to be getting the FOV slider for console. Now he does elaborate on this a little bit further, or in another reply here saying fingers crossed for console FOV. Timmons again responds here saying it's coming as soon as it can responsibly. So it does seem like they want it to be as stable as possible. Again, if you guys didn't know, Xbox and PlayStation both have certifications that games have to pass. I've done this with my coverage previously, especially with a lot of my The Finals content, as well as X-Defiant, and a few other games that had patches delayed, etc. Typically, that's actually down to them not passing certifications. That's even why sometimes you'll see PC players will get the patch first, and then it gets delayed for consoles. The reason being is PlayStation and Xbox have their own form of certifications, where Steam doesn't have that. They don't have that system in place. That's for both good and bad reasons there, obviously. Now, PlayStation doesn't openly post their certifications, at least the requirements to it. However, Xbox actually does showcase them publicly, so we can kind of get a gist on what's going on there, or at least what more than likely PlayStation has in place as well. And literally, the first rule of their certification is title stability. So yes, again, if it doesn't pass a stability certification there, they're not going to be able to update their game, and it's going to get delayed. This happens with a lot of games, actually. If you've ever, again, noticed any patches getting delayed, or if you've just noticed in general things getting delayed, even game releases, this is actually more than likely the culprit for that. And those fail checks actually do happen more often than not. So again, they do need to pass title stability, crashing issues. There's a ton of things there that do need to pass and be able to get through this certification. I'll link to it down below. It's actually very interesting if you want to check it out for yourself. There's a ton of rules and guidelines in there for games to actually pass and follow. But again, that's more than likely why they're actually taking their time with it. And speaking of title certification, stability stuff, we actually do have a few other comments here from Timmons. So hopefully just providing that previous intel is actually going to give us a little bit more context on what's going on here. So there was some more comments here saying, can you elaborate on how the lost loot system works in 4, or obviously Borderlands 4? Someone said here that it grabs the most recent instead of the highest rarity loot. Where in Destiny 2, this actually works a bit different here, and they actually do prioritize your highest item, I believe. At least is what another commenter pointed out here. Timmons actually said that they've identified a few bugs with the lost loot, and they do have a few fixes in the schedule. Now, these won't be in the current patch they're currently testing. so it'll be a little bit before fixes are out, unfortunately, but eventually it will better prioritize gear quality and loot that's fallen into pits. So that way, if you do have a legendary that did get bugged out, I've seen several posts about it, but they do fall under the map or go into the water, those in the future should hopefully show up with your lost loot. Another thing that people really want here is mouse and keyboard support for a console. Someone said it's 2025, PC has it. Obviously you can use either the controller or the mouse and keyboard. In fact, playing with some other content creators as well as a few others, I've noticed a lot of people do use controllers, even on PC of course, but it's nice having that option to be able to switch here. Unfortunately, Timmons does say here that it won't be coming to Borderlands 4. They have investigated it, but it would require a lot of rewriting fundamentally to the input code, and that was just outside of the scope there. But they've already committed to the title. They hope to have it in future titles though. I will say I don't know how good it would feel in Borderlands' current state. Then again, a lot of console players are used to 30 FPS, but playing that with a mouse and keyboard might feel unbearable. But I get the console players wanting to have that and to utilize that. So a bit unfortunate there that they're not going to bring it to the console platform. Potentially if there's enough pushback there for it. Although, to be honest, a lot of PC players, as I mentioned, actually are using a controller, especially for a game like this. So I'm not entirely surprised there that it's not being prioritized, at least given the amount of players that would actually utilize that feature. We had another post here about speedrunning in Borderlands 4. There's apparently some new tech called cricket jumping, where you can essentially clear an entire section of a map with a quick hop. Timmons actually does respond to this, and this might get patched. He said here the only worry is streaming issues or if this introduces instability. He said not out to ruin people's fun, but they can't have it cause tech issues. Although for now they're not going to do anything until proven otherwise. So still cool there, glad that they aren't doing it just yet. I would say even if it did introduce instability, people should just be allowed to do that. Unless, of course, it does affect other people's gameplay. Although because of how single player this game really is, you should be able to just leave a lobby and play by yourself if you wanted to. Yeah, I get arguments on both sides there, but I do think that they should leave this one in. Let people have their fun, even if it introduces some instability. I don't necessarily think it's a bad look overall. And Elden Ring and a few other games have some crazy glitches that you can do, although they have patched a few out, so we'll have to wait and see. We have one last update here from Timmons. Again, going off of disappearing items on the console platforms, or at least them not showing the previews here. He does say this is one of the issues they hope to resolve in the upcoming patch, but there is no ETA just yet. And this is a core reason they're very anxious to get it out to everyone. So it seems like they want to get everything they can into this patch. The FOV slider, bug fixes, potentially even balance reworks. I know there's a ton of things that are bugged in skill trees and weapons just doing way too much damage. There was even a thing with gun handling causing a decrease in projectile speed. So yeah, there's a few major bugs right now that they hopefully do fix. Moving on here, we have our community updates. This first one is there are some new shift codes that have been dropped. I'll try to include all of them in the description down below. So if you want to snag those up, some of these do expire within 48 hours. And actually, given this post, this one actually does expire in 24 hours, given the timing that this was posted. So yeah, I'll include those down below. You should try to redeem those sooner than later. Last up here, as I mentioned, there are some additional community updates. This first one is actually with Yuha Official, which is a K-pop artist. Given we just got the Break Free cosmetics, there's also a Borderlands collaboration with a song called Break Free. So kind of cool there and worth to check out if you wanted to see it. I'll leave a link to the music video down below. We also have this one that is super cool to see. Facer is introducing Borderlands 4 watch faces. So if you do have a smartwatch, you can snag these and throw those on there. It does seem like this both works for the Apple Watch and Samsung, as well as a few others, I believe. Again, I'll include a link to it down below. Not exactly sure which watches you could use with it, but still pretty cool nonetheless, as they have several watch faces here. Overall, that's about cover for today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuces.